The God Sim genre is pretty cool. In those games, you're generally one of many gods who has to use supernatural powers to lead your people to supremacy. Of course, there's always been something I found off about those games, and it's the idea that gods are almost always warlike. The game I'm reviewing today, Reus, is different. It's a polytheistic god sim where you control all the gods. As such, you don't need to fight other gods for supremacy. Of course, it's not entirely free of conflict, as you'll see. So let's find out if Reus is a hidden gem. Reus was developed by Abbey Games, an independent game studio based in Utrecht in the Netherlands. Reus was their first commercial game, released in May of 2013 on various digital distribution platforms. Reus puts a unique spin on the god sim genre by introducing the idea that you control not one but multiple gods, each with unique abilities. Instead of being kind of a monotheistic Abrahamic god like in Populous, you're a small pantheon all by yourself. In Reus, you lead 4 giants, elemental creatures of immense power that help terraform the planet you oversee. Your goal is simply to see the planet thrive, to make life flourish. For that, you need to lead the tiny people on the planet to happiness and prosperity for the short period for which the giants will stay awake. Reus uses hand-drawn graphics that give the game a very pleasant picture book look and feel. The main characters in this game, the giants, look fantastic. They're aesthetically well designed, though some of their abilities don't seem to mesh with their appearance that much. For instance, the crabby looking ocean giant has dominion over domestic animals, but nothing in its design says that clearly. The interface is clean and clear, though there is admittedly a lot of information to convey, meaning you'll often have to pause the game just to take a reading of the situation. The people at Abbey Games did, however, manage to craft an interface that can be used to sort through the large amount of info you may need to consult. The music is a bit hard to notice while playing. However, if you listen to it intently, you'll find it to be quite pleasant. The music uses a mix of primitive rhythms and traditional sounding instruments to give the game a certain ancient feel. One thing to note is that as the game goes on, the music will change, becoming more layered and more complex, yet without losing its roots. There's also a slight procedural aspect to it, as it will sometimes change in response to certain gameplay events, such as wars. Reus is played by controlling 4 godlike giants and terraforming a planet in order to maximize the inhabitants' prosperity. Once you've selected the game type and the game length, you're thrust on a barren, dead planet. It's up to you to terraform it, to bring back life, and with life, civilizations. Each time you play, you will be given several sets of 3 developments. Those are objectives, analogous to achievements. Now, you pick one set, and those objectives will be on the UI for the duration of the game. With each development you achieve, you unlock gameplay elements like plants, animals, minerals, or even buildings for towns to construct. The main goal of your game will be to get the highest possible score to pursue various achievements. To do so, you need to balance resources cleverly. Similar to games like Civilization, the giants can improve tiles using their abilities. Since your score is calculated by adding up the food, wealth, and technology of each village on the planet, it's up to you to maximize the output of each tile. How does one do that? Well, every improvement can be boosted depending on various factors called synergies. For instance, chickens produce more food if they're close to blueberries. Additionally, you can transmute many resources by upgrading them using aspects through your giant's abilities. Transmuting a resource generally makes the tile less valuable, but changes the synergy requirement and bonuses. That means you need to plan and replan a lot. Projects are an important part of the game as well. Projects are generally buildings that give useful bonuses to villages based on various criteria. They're picked by the villagers themselves, so they might not mesh with what you have planned for the village. However, they are also the key to getting high prosperity. Then there are the ambassadors. Whenever a town completes a project, they'll supply you with an ambassador. Ambassadors can be picked up by giants to unlock and upgrade abilities. These abilities, in turn, let you improve tiles in more complex ways, which generally leads to higher resources. The last important gameplay mechanic is war. See, the inhabitants of the planet are not all peace-loving. They sometimes get greedy and go to war with other towns. Each victory emboldens the town and makes them more warlike, as well as more confident in general. And sometimes the inhabitants are overcome with hubris and attempt to slay the giants themselves. Of course, if you lose to just one giant, it's game over, and you don't get to unlock any achievements, so it's to be avoided. Reus is rather unique because you have a lot of elements to deal with. There are 4 giants, each with up to 7 abilities, 6 of which can be upgraded using ambassadors. There's a lot of moving parts under the hood of this game. It may look simple and easy, but you have access to up to 108 different resources that range from minerals to plants to animals. The way that the game works is also rather unique. Instead of having all the options unlocked from the get-go, you need to unlock achievements to use a lot of the more complex resources. This leads the player to actively try to find and unlock achievements in order to have more things to play with, and in turn in order to unlock more achievements. Then there's the fact that your giant's abilities mesh together in really complex ways. For instance, if you want strawberries, well, you need to start by having the ocean giant create water so that some of the planet becomes wet enough that the forest giant can create a forest. Then the swamp giant needs to create dandelions in the forest. Then the ocean giant uses grow on the dandelions so that they can be transmuted into strawberries. And that's not the end of it. Strawberries can be further transmuted to become pear trees. With all the planning needed, the game is almost more of a puzzle game than a god sim. Another unique aspect of this game is that there is no competitor to the player. Sure, the villages you create can go to war, and they might even decide to try and slay the giants themselves, but you're on such an entirely different level than the people on the planet that it's hard to consider them a real threat. The game is not one where you beat something, it's one where you build up. That lack of confrontation is rather unique for the genre. Honestly, this game could grow on you. It's a bit hard to get started, but once you do get started, you'll start unlocking things, and the more you unlock, the more complex the game becomes. The more complex the game becomes, the higher your score can be. The higher your score can be, the more achievements you can unlock. The fun in this game is very cyclical. A lot of the achievements are also genuinely interesting challenges, such as having a village reach a certain prosperity score at the end of the game with nothing but minerals. So in no time you'll be transmuting more and more complex resources, helping your towns build more and more ambitious projects that give more and more points, which in turn will unlock achievements. It's all cyclical. The main strong points for Reus are that it's a complex game with a lot of replayability, a lot of challenge, and that's all wrapped up in a very charming way. Most games of Reus will end with you having overcome at least a couple achievements. Most games will therefore end with you unlocking new resources and improvements. So whenever you finish a game, you can tell that you can start a new game and do even better. Games have a controlled length and aren't too long, so even if you pause a lot to micromanage, you will rarely end with games lasting you days and days like in Civilization. You can, however, extend the world in sandbox mode indefinitely, which is a bit dangerous. It's quite addictive. Challenge-wise, you'll have to manage a lot of things. You'll have to make tough choices and you'll have to play new games again and again if you want to unlock everything. This will make you come back for more, it's guaranteed. Reus is not, however, perfect. It has certain flaws which mar the otherwise enjoyable experience. For one, it's too complicated, meaning that planning things ahead is really important, but a lot of the info you need to plan ahead is not easily found, like the synergy requirements for new resources that you'll get after transmuting. This means you need to check the wiki if you want to plan things really well. Then there's the fact that your games have a set length. Some games might end before the countdown is up, meaning that you might end up with long stretches of nothing interesting happening because you fulfilled the requirements for challenges you were pursuing. And then there's the random chance involved when using aspects. Whenever you upgrade a tile using aspects, the result is randomly rolled between 2 aspect levels. Sometimes you place a better aspect, other times you place a weaker one. And that often means that you have to redo your plans or redo the improvement from the beginning. The only way to make sure you get the right aspect level is to upgrade your abilities, but that means you need to have towns complete projects. Projects which would gain from having a transmuted resource. For a game that relies that much on planning, it can get annoying. So, in the end, what can be said of Reus? It's a god sim with a lot of micromanagement, a lot of planning and complexity, but also a lot of replayability and addictive gameplay. If you like planning the perfect tile improvement schemes in Civilization games, but find the resource systems too shallow, you'll certainly be pleased by Reus. It's got a lot of challenges for you to overcome using planning skills and a bit of luck. It's also got a lot to unlock and over 120 achievements to overcome, giving it pretty good lasting appeal. All in all, I give Reus a rating of Emerald. It's a very interesting title. It does unique things and it's very well presented, but it's held back by the complexity and now it requires you to use things like the wiki to plan things properly. It's a good game, but it's not a great game. Still, look forward to Abby Games' other creations. They have some really cool ideas, that's for sure.